Hello everybody, Shinjo here, welcome back to the channel, and to my official top 10 anime of 2025. If you haven't watched the last video, I would highly recommend it to give context on what has been on that video that won't be in this one. But yeah, assuming that you already watched that video, let's jump right into this one. At number 10, we have My Hero Academia final season. I am very early into the final season, maybe 3-4 episodes in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So obviously this could go up or down on my list depending on how the ending actually is, in my opinion, but I feel like including it in the top 10 at least is a good bet, considering that it's been a staple of the anime community for almost 10 years now, so at least including it in the top 10 seems fair. I'm really enjoying where they're going with the show. I'm just wondering how they're going to lead up to it. Because at this point, it's not necessarily that I'm ranking this season as a whole. It's just everything involving the show. And while that's not necessarily fair, considering the show is wrapping up, it's a big hurrah sort of vibe, so to speak. But yeah, I just thought it was fair to at least include My Hero in top 10. At number 9 is Spy Family Season 3. So like I mentioned in the last one where I included Touring After the Apocalypse, this is the other anime from the fall season that I'm including here. But realistically, I don't really know what I can say about it. It's more Spy Family. If you like the other seasons of Spy Family, you'll probably like this one. Obviously the season isn't done yet. I'm only 10 episodes into it. But I really do enjoy the show as a whole, and the characters are fun. I did enjoy getting some background on Lloyd's character, and as bad as this is going to sound if you know the context, I really did enjoy the bus incident that happened in this season, which I just realized there's a bus on the poster, which is probably a reference to that. But yeah, just Spy Family, really good. While some people might not necessarily enjoy it because it's a little bit too cutesy, I really like it. At number 8, we have Tasakare Hotel. So this is a situation that's different from Flower and Ashura that I discussed previously, where this show basically wrapped up everything in one. So there's a very low chance that it gets a second season, because there was a mystery, they solved it, that's it. They would have to essentially come up with a whole new scenario and stuff like that for a second season. But honestly, I wouldn't necessarily mind if there wasn't another season, because the show itself like I mentioned, it had a mystery, it solved it. While you could argue it might not have been solved in the best way, I enjoyed it personally. As weird as it sounds, I think the one criticism that I would have in the show, other than the fact that there was a lot of mysteries that they probably could have solved in a different way, the biggest thing that I have with the show that I wasn't the hugest fan of is the main girl. There were some times that she came off a little bit too overbearing, especially to her coworkers, but at least with that, she's a character more than just a bland two-dimensional piece of cardboard. But on the show itself, there are some characters that are more tolerable than others, but I guess at the same time, even if you have a character that you love to hate, at least it's a character. But yeah, really good show. Highly recommend you watch it. Obviously go in blind. At number 7 is Sakamoto Days. So this has an edge over a lot of anime that aired this year, where it had some stuff at the beginning of the year and in the middle end part of the year. So it had 20 some episodes to cover, and honestly, I don't think it would have made a difference. I really enjoyed the show. While a lot of people didn't seem like they liked the first part of the show, especially with how the opening looked stilted, I really enjoyed the show. The characters are fun, the whole idea of it is really cool. At the same time, while I mentioned previously about just watching cute girls or cute anime, just not doing anything, not really worried about anything, sometimes you just like to watch people kick each other's butts. But while I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm a Sakamoto stan or something like that, I really do enjoy the show. Obviously, I enjoy it because it's here in the first place. While I will admit there are some issues with the show, I do still really enjoy it. And at the same time, I think the second part of the show absolutely saves it for me. Because I really enjoy what they did with the second part of the show with the big old training arc that they did. I just wish they wouldn't have sidelined Lou. But regardless, it's still a good show in my opinion. And at number 6 is Witch Watch. So I will say, once Witch Watch began its episode run, I really enjoyed it. It was really funny, it was really interesting. And then we had the climax ending off the first season of it. I really enjoyed how that climax was handled. And then they went into the episode 13, 14, and so on, carrying on. It lost a little bit of steam for me. I hate to say that, but at the same time, it just kind of became a random episode that didn't really do anything. And while the first part of the show did that as well, they had a big thing that they were leading up to at the end of it. While I do still definitely enjoy the show as a whole and enjoy the characters, I will admit that the first part of the show is better than the second part of the show. Which, if it would have just been the first part of the show I was ranking, it would probably be higher. It would definitely be in the top 5 to say the least. But there were some times that it felt like it leaned much too much on the comedic side and the references and stuff like that. Not that that's necessarily a problem, but it gets to the point where the references aren't really that special since you see them all the time. But overall, there are some jokes that hit, there are some jokes that missed. Still really solid show in my opinion. This one's probably going to ruffle some feathers. Number 5 is Mono. So, if you don't know Mono, just know that it's created by the same person who made Laid Back Camp. And there we have it. That's why it's in number 5. Actually, to be honest, that's not really why. While that is a part of it and part of why I enjoy it, it's different enough from Laid Back Camp because while the character archetypes are similar, you have characters that weren't in the original show because you didn't really have a deadpan character that just didn't have any emotion in Laid Back Camp. But Mono is really fun, and while there are little references to things that happen in Laid Back Camp and outright characters shown in it, I do still think the show can stand on its own, even outside of that. That while I was upset they didn't have more references to Laid Back Camp, in a way, I applaud them for that. Because it's a situation with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to the original Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess. Where in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, they do have stuff going on, but a lot of it is focused on stuff from the original series. Yugi gives Jaden Wing Karibo. There's an episode where Jaden duels basically Kaiba. They have an academy that's founded by Kaiba. Pegasus shows up multiple times, but GX can still stand on its own. And I feel like it's a similar thing with Mono, where it's a really funny show as well. And the characters are just really fun. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily hurt that it's made by the same person that made Laid Back Camp, but that's not the main reason that it's here. Still a really fun show. I just really enjoy the references to Laid Back Camp. At number 4 is Dan Da Dan Season 2. So, obvious is obvious. Everybody loves Dan Da Dan unless you want to be a hipster that doesn't enjoy it. I did really enjoy this season. I like how we actually involved stuff with Gigi and actually got to know more about him and actually took care of what was left on that cliffhanger at the end of Season 1. While Season 2 technically left off on a cliffhanger as well, I do still think that's more believable than the first season cliffhanger because at least with the second Season 1, you know where you're picking up. It wasn't in the middle of a big adventure. But just like before, Okarune's a fun character, Momo's really fun. Aira's a really fun character, even though some people probably don't like Aira. She's a character that you love to hate, I guess to say. And Gigi, he's just Gigi. I don't know what else to say. And then, of course, everybody loves Psycho. I'm not even gonna touch that one. But yeah, Dandadan Season 2. If you watched it, you probably liked it. I feel like that's all I have to say about it. But at number 3, we have City the Animation. So, if it wasn't obvious from the poster itself, it's done by Kyoto Animation, and it's their first thing that they have made ever since their big tragic event that happened years ago, not counting stuff like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid or any movies that they've done. This is their first original thing they've done since then. It feels like a love letter from KyoAni to KyoAni, because it's just really fun, and honestly, these character designs fit right in with stuff like Nichijou. But while I could talk about the show itself, it's just not really... I mean, nothing happens, but at the same time, in a lot of KyoAni stuff, nothing does happen. It's just fun characters, wacky scenarios. City does not have a plot. It's just one city everybody lives in. There are so many recurring characters, so many fun scenarios. In essence, it just cheers you up after a rough day or a rough week or a rough month. It's just a really positive show and a really fun show at that. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it if you like fun. But at number 2, we have Anne Shirley. So, for those of you that may not be aware, it's based off of Anne of Green Gables, if you're familiar with that from back in the day. But this is an anime spin on it, which is weird because it's not the first anime spin that's been on this property. But I really enjoy the show, the characters are fun, but I think the biggest draw for me is that they actually have a time lapse and go through the life of Anne Shirley. It's hard to go back and watch the early parts of Anne Shirley, knowing that you get to see her grown up later. And the hard moments that Anne has to face during the show are really harsh, but I think overall it's a really good show. And while it does have the benefit of having 24 episodes, I think it's a really good show regardless, even outside of that. But there can only be one that's the best anime of the year, and I enjoy callbacks, so much like how Food Court was in the last video that only had 6 episodes, number 1 is Takapi's Original Sin, another anime that only had 6 episodes, but they cram everything they can into those 6 episodes. They have an idea of what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and they execute it masterfully. It's a really fun show, a really dark show to say the least. So I want to put a disclaimer out there now. Don't go into this lightly. This is not for the faint-hearted. It's really hard to watch some of these episodes, to be honest. But I don't think there could be any other anime that is at number 1 besides this. I don't want to spoil much of the show, so all that I'm going to say is Takapi comes to Earth to try and make people smile, and then along the way Takapi encounters some kids and finds out what they're going through, and everything just unravels from there. Again, I don't want to spoil anything that's going on in this show. You'll have to figure that out for yourself. But again, watch at your own risk. I feel bad that I'm not really discussing much about the show, but I don't want to really talk about the show without spoiling it, because this show is just really good. But those are my top 10 anime of the year. Counting the last video, it's my top 20 anime of the year. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Let me know if there was another anime that you think should be at number 1 besides Takapi, or an anime that I should have included regardless. If you enjoyed these videos, make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe if you haven't. I have another video that I'm planning about stuff that I watched this year, but you'll have to find that out later. Have a good one. Momentai.